Hey, I'm Dani with Nora Knives. Today I thought I would do a little bit of an intro on the design process. Anyone that kind of knows our knives knows we use the engraver to put various graphics, pictures, patterns on our blades. I'm gonna actually engrave a test blade for you guys. So we're actually gonna do an anatomical heart because I had an idea for a knife that kind of plays on the do it with heart. Because our chefs that we work with, they tend to be pretty passionate folks. How it works usually is I'll get an idea for a knife and that comes from just various random places. The knife that this is gonna go on, it has a bright red bolster. And so immediately I started thinking of a heart, and I thought, again, we could play on the do it with heart because we're gonna actually engrave that on the spine of the knife to kind of tie it all together. We search a lot of stock photography, and then we'll pay for the rights to use different artists' work. In some cases, we actually work with the artist and we'll have them design something for us, which is like the coolest. So I found an image that I like. Usually everything we work with is two-dimensional. So it's usually black or white or two different colors, and that way it translates well to the engraver. This is what I'm working with for now. It's just kind of a nice basic heart, maybe even a little gruesome, but I like it that way. So once I get it into a vector format that my engraver understands, I'll go into the engraving software, I'll import it. We just go through a few different steps where I have to kind of condense it so we get it as small of a file as possible so that everything kind of transfers well. Then I get a pretty good picture on how it's gonna look. Now that I have this kind of in here, I'm gonna take it first into inches, since that's what we work off of here in the States, and I don't understand much else. I'm gonna do it with a height of about 2 inches. That's generally about the height of most of our blades. And then I kind of get a feel for where that will lie on the blade. Then I go to our engraver, get it turned on. And I will sort of play with placement. The cool thing about this, when it's a vector, is I can actually test the image to see how it's gonna look. It'll kind of give me a laser view of it. So I get a frame first. That'll kind of tell me my rough outline. I have to line up my diodes to make sure that I get as strong and as crisp of an engraving as possible. So that kind of gives me a feel for where the image is going to be, but then I like to actually, see the image. So I'll test it. Okay, so if you can kind of see it, I get a real nice rough outline of where this heart's gonna be and kind of how it's gonna fall on the blade. And I'll play with placement. I'm gonna just test this one out, see how it looks. I can fit the majority of the heart on this blade, and I'm gonna roll with it, see how it looks. We will close this bad boy up. I play with settings too, with the frequency and the speed. And depending on the different combinations with the speed, the frequency, the pulse distance, we can actually play with color and whatnot too. We try not to go super heavy on the depth with these because you do have to cut food with it. So if we go too deep, then we have a lot of food getting into the blade, which is never a good thing. But we need to balance it between the fact that it needs to stay on there. All right. I'm going to go ahead and mark it. Start the laser, and it's going to get real loud here because we have to vacuum. Actually good to look at the laser for too long. It's got a filter, but I'm pretty sure I've messed up my eyes a good amount just by staring at this way too long. Okay, so that's our first pass. And I'm gonna leave it be because what I need to do is do what we call a cleaning pass, which actually will give a white tint to the engraving. And that's what really makes it pop against some of our darker carbon steels. And you can see this was a snake that I tested. I don't know what it is with snakes, but I love snakes on blades. I'm gonna try this. There it is. Takes a second to transfer the machine. Now it's picking up a lot of white in this, which is what gives it great contrast against a dark blade. We can even get gold hues or gold tones or silver tones, depending on how we play with the settings. Get that beautiful knife. This is just a test run on the blade. You can kind of see it's the amazing thing about the laser is it's just perfectly crisp etched lines, which you can't get with an electro etch. And a lot of knife makers will electro etch their logos, which absolutely works if you don't need a ton of detail. But if you need detail, an electro etch is really hard to perfect and to continuously do. And obviously this kind of stuff is near impossible. That's my heart on a blade, and yeah, I hope you like it. That's how we do it.